All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Market Open. It is April 12th, 2023. And inflation seems to be decreasing within this nation. And inflation comes in this morning at 5% year over year. It rises just 0.1% in March. 5% a year ago. It is down from a solid 6% last month. And we now have an inflationary or deflationary potential trajectory for this country to go down. The stock market is green. Obviously, the market likes it. Most bigger banks assumed 5.2 to 5.3. They thought 5% was a possibility, but they didn't expect it to be this, kind of glaringly obvious that inflation was going to come down. If you've been following Trueflation, we thought that inflation was going down to 4.3%. I thought it would get to like 5.2, 5.3. I knew it would be, bad. I didn't know it would be like, or I knew it would be good. I didn't know it would be this good. But we've got inflation down, and that means we've got a lot of stocks that are going to be green right now. Grom plays. Hello, Julian, Ibot, Pete, Aaron, Jason, Felicia, Lars, Joseph, Bruno. Who else is in the chat already? Thank you so much for being here this morning. Stephen, Arvin, Hertweek, what's up? What's up? Root Canal is at 11 a.m. So I'll be out of here at 10 and I'll get to the root canal. I asked the question on Twitter yesterday. I was like, do root canals hurt? And like most people said no, but then there was a decent amount of people that were like, yeah, that shit sucks. So I don't know who to believe. I kind of feel like it's going to hurt. I hope it won't. But you can follow me on Twitter at AmitIsInvesting, and you will be taken along the journey the whole day on what's going on with my root canal. Palantir, 877, up 1.86%. Netflix up 1%. Weight Watchers actually down about 2.4%. It was up 50% yesterday. Nvidia's up 1%. Ginkgo's up 3%. Tesla is back to 191. We had Enphase at 200. This is a little preview of what the bull market is going to feel like. Okay, there's a little preview because when inflation gets down to 3%, and these stocks and bonds and treasuries are not giving the same type of return as some of these risk-on assets are going to be able to give you. Some of these companies that are growing, anywhere from 20 to 70% year over year in the case of Enphase. Anywhere from Tesla transforming the world. These are the companies you kind of want to be in before it takes off. And I think we'll get some more opportunities to buy the dip. I think honestly today, like my personal opinion, I think a lot of it is going to be sold off. I do not think this rally is going to sustain itself, especially just given some of the other macro indicators we have going on. But the general trend is that inflation is starting to go down, which is just going to be a massive opportunity. Bitcoin falling a little bit here because inflation going down is not good for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is supposed to be a hedge against inflation, and Bitcoin's now at 30,211, past 30,000, but not passing 31,000 to keep going up. Triple QQQ up 2% as well. Let's go to Schwab, or sorry, no, they're not the dividend. I'm looking for Charles. Yeah, here we go. This one. This bad boy is at 52 right now, so not up too much. SoFi passing $6, $6.05, up 1.34%. Nasdaq 12,000 is probably going to open green as we open the market, and SPY is at 412 in the pre-market. So, look, I think this might be sold off if I had to be honest, but the market definitely does love what we're seeing right now. But can we all pray for a minute? Root canal procedure. I appreciate you guys. Hopefully it goes fine. We have a good doctor, so it should be okay. All right, so we have 6 minutes to the market open. Before we get to the market open, I want to play a 2-minute clip of Elon Musk. So last night I was just doing some work, and apparently Elon Musk went on a Spaces, and he went on a Spaces with a BBC reporter. They were in person, but they were doing a Spaces on Twitter, which is like the audio virtual kind of clubhouse calling on Twitter. And my goodness, I could not believe what had gone on. This phone call, and again, we're going to get to the market open in about 6 minutes. This phone call, for those who haven't seen it, there's 2 minutes that were just incredible, where the BBC reporter is trying to like make a dig at Elon, like really trying to come after him. And it's really sad that BBC put this guy up to make the dig, because this guy had no idea. I was a debate coach, right? I did debate. This guy got demolished, and Elon all he did was asking some basic questions and logically walked him down the fact that he's an idiot, and in front of about 1 million people on those spaces told him, hey, you're an idiot. You have no idea what you're talking about, especially on the concept of free speech. I honestly, this is one of those things where I was like, thank God Elon bought Twitter, because if this is how institutional, powerful houses like the BBC think about how media should be shared and propagated, it's no wonder why we've had so much censorship on these social platforms. The philosophy of how they think about it is just fundamentally corrupt. So let's listen to this 2-minute clip of him demolishing this BBC dude.
Content you don't like or
by the way, the context is the BBC reporter says there's more hateful speech in the For You page. That's the context of where this conversation starts.
Content you don't like or hateful. What do you mean to describe a hateful thing?
Yeah, I mean, you know, just content that will solicit a reaction, something that may include something that is slightly racist or slightly sexist, those kinds of things.
So you think if something is slightly sexist, it should be banned?
No,
is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying anything. I'm
just curious. I'm trying to understand what you mean by hateful content, and I'm asking for specific examples. And you just said that if something is slightly sexist, that's hateful content. Does that mean that it should be banned?
Well, you've asked me whether my feed, whether it's got less or more. I'd say it's got slightly more.
That's why I'm asking for examples. Can you name one example?
I honestly don't use. Honestly, I
don't. You can't name a single example.
I'll tell you why. Because I don't actually use that For You feed anymore, because I just don't particularly like it.
But you said.
Okay, so before we continue, 2 things from a debate coach perspective. Number 1, this is basically cross-examination in a debate, right? So cross-examination in a debate is someone reads their argument and you get to ask them questions, usually for 3 minutes. Now, when you do this, there's a hidden rule that you're never supposed to do. You're never supposed to ask someone for one example. So Elon's actually wrong in asking that question. Now, the reason he's wrong is because let's say this dude comes up with an amazing example, and then Elon's sitting there, and then his best retort is going to be like, well, that's just one example. That's not indicative of the whole platform. But you kind of put yourself on the ledge by saying, give me one example. And then the guy gets up and gives one example. I was actually in Slovenia, debating against Denmark in the finals of this tournament on the international debate when I was in high school. And the dude was like, give me one time, blah, blah, blah. And then I gave him one time and the whole audience started clapping. The problem is, now the good thing is Elon says, give me one example, because he knows this motherfucker has no examples. And so the risk he's taking is high, but the benefit of the reward of the risk is also high, because if the dude can't name an example, he's screwed, and he looks like an idiot for even bringing up the claim in the first place, because he has no warrants to support the claim.
A lot of people are quite similar. I only look at
hang on a second. You said you've
following.
seen more hateful content, but you can't name a single example, not even one.
I'm not sure I've used that feed for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and
Okay, so now the guy's like, well, I don't even use the For You page anymore, so I can't give an example. And Elon immediately picks up on it, and this was the part where I started smiling as a debate coach.
Well, then how did you see the hateful content?
How did you see the hateful content if you're saying you don't even use the feed?
Because I've been using Twitter since you've taken it over for the last 6 months.
Okay, so then you must have at some point seen the For You hateful content.
This is called a double bind. Either you don't see it, which means you're lying and saying there's hateful, or you have seen it at least once, and you should obviously remember something that is so hateful. So he's stuck in what we call a double bind, and the reporter just has to squirm his way out of it by saying, well, you'll see what he says.
I'm asking for one example.
Right.
And you can't give a single one.
And I'm saying...
Then I say, sir, that you don't know what you're talking about.
Really?
Yes, because you can't give me a single example of hateful content, not even one tweet. And yet you claimed that the hateful content was high.
Well,
that's false.
No, what I claimed...
You just lied.
What I claimed was
Then he goes ad hom, and it's justified to go ad hom there in front of 400,000 people, because like the dude is lying.
There are many organizations that say that kind of information is on the rise. Now, whether it has on my feed or not, I mean, right, and
literally
if you look at something like the Strategic Dialogue Institute in the UK, they will say that. So
look, people will say all sorts of nonsense. I'm literally asking for a single example, and you can't name one.
Right.
Then the guy's like, oh, well, people in the UK have saying hate speech is on the rise. And Elon's like, that's not an argument. You can't just be like, people are saying something. People can say whatever they want. So Elon's getting them at every single point.
And as I already said, I don't use that feed. But
then how would you know that?
I don't think this is getting anywhere.
You literally said you experienced more hateful content, and then couldn't name a single example.
Right. And as I said,
that's absurd.
I haven't actually looked at that feed.
Then how would you know this hateful content?
Because I'm saying that's what I saw a few weeks ago. I can't give you an exact example. Let's move on. We only have a certain amount of time.
Let's move on. We only have a certain amount of time. I'm going to do a full video breaking that down because that, like, do you guys see how ridiculous that was for BBC? All right, 9:30 a.m., April 12th, 2023. The stock market is green and open. Wake your ass up. S&P at 411. Charles Schwab 52. Enphase at 199. I saw it go to 188 yesterday. I was like, let me not buy it. I should have fucking bought it at 188 because it runs, but I think I'll get another opportunity. Duolingo at 137. Netflix 341. Rocket Labs 415. Palantir 872 up 1.28%. Ginkgo 137. Nvidia 272. SLG green. Chris is fucking right on this one. It's up like 20%. I need to increase my position in there, but basically $25. He called it buy at 20. They pay a nasty dividend, 13% year over year. Look, 12. I'm starting to get more convinced on this one as I look at their 10K as well. 12 billion in assets, one of two commercial real estate operators in the United States, 4 billion in long-term debt, $1.6 billion market cap. It's an interesting one to look at. Tesla at 191, Nasdaq at 12,115, Apple 161, Lululemon 369, C3 AI is even up today. SoFi at 602. SoFi is probably not going to retain $6, so don't feel FOMO into buying SoFi at all. You'll get a chance to buy it coming down. Square at 67. Hindenburg was fucking wrong when it comes to this short report. This is absolutely wrong. It's sad. They're going to have to cover that short report. AMD 94.72. Bank of America 28. JP Morgan 129. The banks are up. Let's go to FRC. I'm calling FRC at 1450. 1419. Okay. FRC was at 1419. Meta at 215. An article came out today saying Meta could probably go to 300 later by this year. I don't know if it gets to 300, but it could definitely get to like 230-ish. If the earnings go really well. I don't know how great the earnings are going to be, though, because, Q1 was still a little choppy for a lot of companies. But inflation is coming down, which means consumers will have more money to buy. Brands will have more money to advertise. Things should start to get back in motion. And the Fed's probably going to pause with 5%. I mean, it would be surprising to me if the Fed does not pause. But, they might want to be really tough on it. But I don't think it's going to happen. Airbnb at 115. Pinterest at 28. We've got a green market, folks. We've got a green market. We've got a green market. What do we got in the comments? Here we go. Love how Elon kept pressing him. Yeah, it was great, man. It was so good. It was phenomenal. Yeah, Meet Kevin did flip, right? He said he's not going to do sponsors, but now he's doing sponsors. Hey, look, man, I kind of had a feeling he would definitely take on sponsors again. That's just kind of how he is at this point. And now he justifies it by flip-flopping. And no hate to Meet Kevin, but like he does flip-flop a lot. And at some level, it can really erode the trust of an audience, even if you have 1 million subscribers, man. People don't want to be taken advantage of. Like, unless you're just like an idiot, most people do not want to be taken advantage of. Square at 67, Coinbase 71. All right, Coinbase, wow, passing 70s. Let's get into some of the mainstream media and see what they're saying. Coinbase at 71, though. The goodness, that CNBC reporter, it was just amazing. Oh, Warren Buffett talked with CNBC. Warren Buffett gave CNBC an interview, huh? So we got some Buffett clips. Wow. Okay, let's I think the most interesting one is hearing him talk about the banking crisis. 2 minutes. Let's hear him talk about why he sold out of most banking stocks. Let's listen to this, and then we'll move on. Wow, he was on for 3 hours this morning. I did not know that. Did you say don't buy SoFi because it's not going above 6? No, I said don't buy SoFi now. Don't FOMO into SoFi at 6 because you'll probably be able to get it lower than that. SoFi, it stays stuck within that 5 to 620 range, and they have earnings coming up May 1st, so I think it will be sold after this little rally, and then it'll probably spike on earnings because earnings will be good, but I wouldn't FOMO into SoFi today out of all days. All right, this is Buffett on why he sold some of his banks.
Banks that you've sold include USB, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, PNC. Should we think that they're banks that aren't well run because you've sold them? Or
No. But I do think, I did think that banking could get in a lot of trouble just because of the kind of things that they did, and that I didn't like the banking business as well as I did before.
Why'd you keep Bank of America?
But I would love to have owned a bank. If Berkshire could have owned 100% of a bank, we'd love to own it. Oh, we can't do it under the bank holding company.
Would you like to be a bank holding company?
Well, that means we can't do all the other things we do. So we got taken out of that in 1970. We had just bought a bank in 1969, and we had to get rid of it in 10 years. And there's, I don't argue against regulation of banks, believe me, but that particular option has been taken away from Berkshire, and I think it's probably a good idea to taking it away from corporate managements generally.
Why'd you keep Bank of America?
Pardon me?
Why did you keep Bank of America?
They invited, I invited myself in many years earlier, and they made a very decent deal for us. And I like Brian Moynihan enormously. And I just don't want to sell it. But I did sell banks that we'd owned for 25 or 30 years. And if they asked me why I did it, I told them, but
you can definitely tell Buffett's it's a little bit harder for him to talk. This is one of those interviews where it is a little bit harder for him to get through a sentence. I think how old is he now? Warren Buffett age 92. Wow. I relate. My grandpa and my grandma recently just passed in December, and they were both 84, 85-ish. And yeah, man, look, let that be a reminder. The fact that he's still killing it as a investor and giving these interviews is just absolutely phenomenal. But let that be a reminder that we will all deteriorate, all of us, every single one of us, which means the moment is now, always. It doesn't matter what the fuck you're doing. Now is the moment to try, because it just gets harder when your body deteriorates. And so if you want to do something and you haven't done it, including myself, now is the time. Let's hear his thoughts on AI and ChatGPT.
Keep talking about ChatGPT and potentially how that could transform AI, how that could transform our economy in the future. And obviously, there's also lots of questions about whether AI is dangerous and we have the right policy set around it. And I was curious if you've given much thought to any of it.
Well, I think it's something I don't understand at all. But Bill did come by about, 4 or 5 months ago, and he said, I'm going to show you the latest thing, what can be done. And then he, I actually said, take the song My Way and write it in Spanish, and have it encompass my views on what's funny or what's likely to happen in the economy. And 2 seconds later, it comes out that rhymes and does all these wonderful things. But he told me, he said it can't tell jokes, which I thought was very interesting. It just doesn't know how to tell jokes, but it can tell you. It's read every book, every legal opinion. I mean, the amount of time it could save you if you were doing all kinds of things is unbelievable. But what I said to Bill is, I said, just let me know what I can ask it. How are you going to ruin the human race? And then let me know, someone unplug it or whatever I have to do at that point. And of course, I'll be programmed so that nobody thinks they should unplug it or some damn thing. So I don't really understand it. I think it's an incredible technological advance in terms of showing what we can do, but I don't know whether we know what happens. And I was listening, who was it the other day who knows a lot about technology? He just says that, it scares him. Well, if it scares him, it scares me. And
well, look, he's not wrong on this. I mean, he's making the same point that a lot of people have made when it comes to AI. I mean, Elon Musk has made the same point. It's just that ChatGPT and these AI tools, I'm getting to a point in my own life where it's becoming an inflection point in terms of how productive it's making me. So Buffett is right that, we should be scared of it, but he doesn't understand the technology that much, the large language models, ontology. See, that's the thing about companies like Palantir and stuff, right? Like, to invest in them, you've got to understand LLMs and ontology and data analytics, and you got to understand the granularity of it, the access controls, all that stuff. And like, for a guy like him, he would never invest in Palantir because he didn't get it. If we're right on this investment thesis, this shit's going to the fucking moon. But it takes some tech. Like, I didn't study computer science, and I just get curious. So when I learned about Palantir and I got to talk to people like CodeStrap and dive deeper into these things, and guys, I'm a nerd. I'll put on like a Carpenter review while I'm at the gym and I'll just be listening to him, right? Like I try to really understand this shit. I feel like I have a decent understanding of it now. I just have to be right, but it's very interesting stuff from a technical perspective, and it is going to be the revolution over the next decade. Excluding food and energy, core CPI increased 0.4%, 5.6% on an annual basis. 5% versus the estimate of 5.1%. Okay, so the estimate was 5.1. So the market kind of thought it was going to go down. So I'm curious why. That's why I think the rally might be sold off, because the market kind of thought, if the market thought 5.1 and we get 5, obviously it's within some expectations at least. The Fed has raised interest rates 9 times to a total of 4.75. Do we get to 5? You know, the Fed might say, let's get to 5 and then we'll stop. That might happen. But I don't know. It's harder to see that necessarily happening. It's also this the market going up with some of this inflation stuff is also a bit hard to rationalize in the coming month in terms of unemployment, right? If we want to get unemployment to 4.5%, you know, we're gonna have some level of a downturn in the stock market. There's no way it's gonna be this hot. That's why I think buying today is, I wouldn't buy today. You know, not today. I'm gonna pull up another chart for you guys. I made a YouTube short about Alex Karp giving a homeless man 180 grand. If you want to check it out, link the YouTube short, please. I think I remember seeing that. Can you give an example of how you use ChatGPT to be more productive? Yeah. So if I need to script a video, I usually don't script my YouTube videos, but I script like other types of videos that I do. I type in a prompt, give it to ChatGPT, be like, hey, can you give me some ideas about this? And within 10 minutes, I have an entire content. If you're a creative, like for example, if I said something for 10 minutes and I want to turn what I said, my transcript, into an article, but I don't want to rewrite my article, like it would take me like at least 30 minutes to kind of like sit down and think of how do I write this out. But if I just take my transcript and I just put it into ChatGPT, be like, hey, rewrite this as an article, and then make a couple of adjustments, within 5 minutes, I have an article ready to go. Right. So that right there is pure productivity from what you're doing, which is really, really, really productive. And it's good at the end of the day, right? It helps a lot. I want to pull up. So Chris pulled up something really good yesterday on the Finance Junkies podcast. It's near the end of the pod. I recommend you guys check it out. The CNN Fear and Greed Index. Okay, so he did some analysis here. The S&P one, and it was just really interesting to look at. When we have extreme fear, that's when the market started to rally, and when we have extreme greed, that's when the market starts to go down. If you look at the S&P, that's basically kind of how it played out when it comes to fear and greed. You guys should watch on Finance Junkies. I think it's like the last 15 minutes of it, but he showed the S&P going from the highs to the lows all of 2022 based on fear and greed. So right now at greed, right, from a very basic perspective, if you're trying to buy or sell, it might be a little bit not the best to buy, especially when it gets to extreme greed. But when we get back to fear or extreme fear, which we were around March 15th, that's when it was the time to buy. And that's when we had a lot of stocks bottom a little bit. I think we had the S&P around like 390-ish, around that range as well. So we'll see where that, aka overbought and oversold. Yeah, pretty much. But it was really cool seeing like the S&P correlate with the greed index. Let's go back into the market and let's take a look at what else is going on. T-minus 1 hour and 17 minutes till I go under the knife. I really hope this shit doesn't hurt, bro. I don't think it'll hurt, but I hope it doesn't. Coinbase down a little bit. All right, some stocks are falling back to earth. Netflix down, Nvidia down a little bit, Palantir's down a bit. Yeah, it makes sense. The rallies, I mean, look, we expected 5.1. We got 5. There's no reason to buy heavy today. We're going to get a little bit of a sell-off. It'll come down a little bit over the next week or two, probably even over the next couple of days. Jay Powell will say some shit. We'll get even lower. We'll have more opportunities to buy. I wouldn't FOMO today, but it is nice to see a little preview of what happens when inflation goes down. Now the Fed pausing rates would solidify inflation being down in a much more, or the market being able to sustain its rally in a much more significant way. But we will see how it happens. ARK at 39. Let's see what ARK's been buying. I haven't seen ARK make a lot of purchases recently. Maybe I just haven't keep up with it. Let's take a look at what ARK is buying. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So I'm seeing it the first time as you guys are seeing it. My dentist has been doing this for like 20 years or something. She came from India, and she's like, I asked her why she wanted to be a dentist, and she was like, the first time I like felt tooth pain, I went to get it fixed without telling my parents, because like I didn't want to tell my parents or whatever. And like the relief I felt made me realize at a young age, this is all I want to do. I want to help people relieve their pain when it comes to like their teeth. It was a pretty legit reason to me. I'm like, all right, so you just don't want me to have pain, so don't put me through pain in the surgery. But it seems like she really cares. Hopefully, we'll see what happens. All right, so she bought Unity, CRISPR. She sold DraftKings. A lot of ARC-G genomic stocks. Okay, that was April 11th. Let's see, April 10th. She bought a ton of Teladoc, Beam, some Ginkgo. Yeah, more genomic stuff. Yeah, look at this. Look at all this genomics. Buying a ton of that. Let's go down a little bit lower. Yeah, mainly there's no Roku, there's no Zoom, she already bought a ton of Square, around almost 400,000 shares. And yeah, so it's pretty much genomic stuff. Okay. As I said, ARC's been pretty quiet over the past couple of weeks, but genomics, it seems like it's what they have been buying. Yeah, there's a minute subscribe, but I'm trying to see what's the major difference. Yeah, ChatGPT. Well, if you're subscribed, you just get it really quick. Like, so for example, I don't have to, I don't have to go to ChatGPT and it's like, oh, our servers are too busy right now. And when they say that, it's legit. I mean, there was 150 million people in India that went to ChatGPT last month alone. India alone. India's population for internet users, I think, is around 500-600 million. So you got 1/6 of the whole population using ChatGPT. So I use it for a lot of shit, and Tristan, my videographer, uses it for a lot of shit. So I was like, $20 a month is like a legitimate business expense to increase productivity and not have to worry about servers being too slow or anything like that. It helps, man. If you create content professionally and you're trying to get a lot out. Look, so here's the thing about content. And I was talking about this with Sean the other day. This is really important to understand. Content is not just king anymore. It's an army when it comes to your business. So in terms of my startup, content is an army for getting my startup awareness. In terms of, you're a YouTuber, it's an army to get more content out there. Now, the interesting thing, and Elon actually said this on the BBC Spaces last night, because BBC was like, well, why are you doing verification, right? And this was also hilarious, bro. It's like the whole point of being a leftist and a progressive and a modern, like someone who's trying to like make the world better, is try to reduce inequality, right? Like if you have to define leftism, it's like reducing inequality. Or at least that's the sort of core ethos of it. By the way, I'm not Republican or Democrat. I'm just analyzing this. Now, if that's the case, wouldn't you want a world where you don't have check marks arbitrarily delineating the people that are the elite of the society and the people that are the peasants of the society? Right? Like that is what a check mark is. It's literally like the BBC, the New York Times, Taylor Swift, Justin Bieber. These are the elite members, the people that we have to bow down to, the people that we have to take a bullet for. And then you've got Joe Schmo, who's trying to just work a regular job, pay off his mortgage. He doesn't get to be verified because why should he get to have a voice? He's just a regular person. Elon getting rid of the verification system actually flips that entire narrative and says, actually, no, anyone who pays for it gets access to it. And Taylor Swift is not more important than Joe Schmo, which is, if you're a leftist, that's what you should want in a society that is trying to be unequal. But if you care about meritocracy, which is what most people do, that's where you get upset, right? Now, one of the arguments Elon made was that with the rise of AI, content creation is going to become more easier than ever, because anyone can go into ChatGPT and be like, write me a thread about the rise of genomics or the rise of DNA sequencing. And then boom, they have their Twitter content that would take a actual genomics researcher probably like 10 minutes, 20 minutes to actually come up with on their own. You can just copy and paste that, put a couple of adjustments, boom, you have tweets. So his argument was the way to get rid of bots that are going to be doing that at scale, hyper scale, when you have AI, is you have to have a credit card, an ID, and a verification, and pay $8 a month. Like that in and of itself significantly reduce, because you can't do that for 1 million bots. You can't pay $8 a month for 1 million bots. But if there's no bots and they're not verified, which means they're not getting that much distribution, which means their propaganda of content via AI won't be as effective, and they make 1 million free accounts, it's just not going to show up in people's feeds. Whereas if you're verified. So he said every social platform, and we see this with Meta, has to get verified, because if they don't get verified, then the AI content's going to take over. It was interesting because he even literally said that like you can have like millions of thirst traps for using Midjourney on Instagram. So what's the value of a thirst trap? Like so many models have made their careers off posting bikini pictures, but if I can just fake that picture, then what is the value of your bikini picture? At the end of the day, as a guy, I just want to see like a hot girl. I don't care if it's real or not. So the only way for it to be legitimate is for the model to be verified, so it shows up in the feed over the unverified model. And I think it's actually a really good argument for why we need to do that. SoFi back down to 588. Wasn't going to hold 6. Makes sense. I think I've observed SoFi a lot on the charts to realize that just wasn't going to happen. Its run is ridiculous. Its run is always ridiculous. I think on earnings they might pop like another 18-20%, but it'll come back down. Like when it ran up to like $8 and everyone was like, oh, we missed the opportunity. It's like, no, SoFi was coming down. I was not buying. I was like, SoFi will come down and we'll have a shot. Zoom at $70. Remember, SoFi has to get profitable before any real sustainment of a rally happens. And they're still a good year and a half away from that. So there's a lot of opportunity to load up on SoFi and be very patient with it if you're interested in the thesis. Adobe at 373. Yeah, everything else is pretty much flat from the morning or a little bit green, and that's all we got. And that's it. So Ty Gordon says AI will just lead to a higher expectation, meaning each worker will be expected to produce more work at a higher quality. I agree. It's just that there's going to be so much of it that at some level, it's also going to be hard to see. Like on Twitter, right? Twitter is a text-based platform. ChatGPT is literally like, it is the best thing ever for Twitter if you don't want to actually learn how to develop your own voice. Now, I've seen people tweet threads that are like obviously written by AI, and you don't even want to engage with them because you're just like I don't think you have your own voice, and I think developing your own voice on Twitter is like the most important thing. That's how people actually engage with you and like trust you and want to communicate with you. But sometimes if you want to have one AI thread here or there, it could happen. And for the masses, if you're trying to go for like the average person that doesn't care, that just wants to see the content, if they come across it and it's AI driven, they might engage. So like if you're not verified on Twitter, that AI proliferation is just going to be insane. But I agree, the more authentic, higher quality content creators are going to win in the next decade because people are just going to get tired with all this AI stuff. What's the difference between ChatGPT 4 and 3? ChatGPT 4 understands better context. So if I say, hey, take this blah, 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 and write it in the style of blah, 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 or understand the, like if I have specific words, like make this more exciting, like the adjective exciting actually matters more to GPT-4 versus GPT-3 because it's able to understand the context of like what it means to be excited when you're speaking, right? So it can just give better context and give more analysis there. ChatGPT has been such a pain for universities. We're still trying to work out how to prevent students using explicitly to cheat, do work. Yeah, and I think, look, at the end of the day, it's going to be hard to, well, it's not going to be the hardest. There's a ton of AI tools that can tell, like, if you're cheating, right? So the plagiarism stuff actually will be detected, I think, fairly easily. But in terms of an AI writing helping assistant, I think there's nothing you can do to stop it. So it's just a question of how students ultimately use it at the end of the day. All right. I am out of here. Gabe says to look at AU. I'm going to look at AU real quick. This is another Gabe short. He is shorting this bad boy. Anglo Gold. Anglo Gold. RSI is 81 on the 84 on the daily. Okay. I don't know what your thesis is, Gabe, to short it. Market cap of 11 billion. Yeah. I don't know what these guys do. Never heard of this company. Interesting. All right. Well, I hope you're right on this one, like Oracle. You've been right on a couple of shorts recently. Yeah, it went from 23. Wait, what? It's at. Oh, sorry, no. It went from 20 to 27 on the lows. No. It was about 19 to 27. So it's had a nice little run up. All right, yeah, I'll take. Oh, am I even sharing the screen? Oh, I'm not even sharing the screen. Sorry, guys, I wasn't even sharing it. But this is what he's looking at. Where is it? Weeble. Okay, there you go. That's what Gabe is going to be shorting. There's a software that can make it look like you're always looking at the screen. I don't know that. You could actually text me that. I'll look at it. If you have some feedback on my short, that'd be awesome. All right, sounds good. Entrepreneur Archives. Also, if you just tweet it at me, I'll see it from there as well because I think I missed the YouTube link. So just tweet it at me, and I'll take a look at it. Cool. All right. So I'm out. I will be vlogging this whole root canal thing on my Twitter. So at Amid is Investing if you want to check it out. Inflation's down, ladies and gentlemen. we've got a green market. I wouldn't buy anything today. We'll get better opportunities. Market will probably sell this off, but it's nice to see inflation coming down. We're going in the right direction. Yeah, root canal, never got it before. We'll see what it feels like. You know, one quick story. I had to get a MRI on my neck a year ago, and they said, do you want a closed MRI or an open MRI? Open MRI is like, you kind of just like put your arm in a box and the rest of your body's open. Closed MRIs are literally in a coffin. Think of like a tomb, and you're like this much away from the ceiling. It's almost like you're like entering into your own death, right? And you're just saying there's a big ass machine. I had both options, and I picked closed because I was like, I'm not no bitch. I don't want to be scared of this shit. I don't want to be scared of that stuff. So I picked the worst option, and it was kind of tough being in there for 30 minutes, just like looking at my coffin. I was like, damn, this is what it's gonna be like when I die, even though I'll probably be burned when I die. But I was just looking at it like, this is going to suck for the next, 1,000 years or whatever, just being stuck in a coffin. It gives you a little bit more perspective to do what you want to do in life, because that's the inevitable reality we're all going to be in. But the point is, I did the hard thing, even though I had the option to do the easier thing. And so I kind of take these things on the chin, and, we'll see how the root canal goes. It's my fault I didn't protect my teeth over the past couple months or years, so I take personal responsibility for that. But, now going under the knife, we'll see how it goes. And let's just hope it's not too bad. I think they said I'll be able to talk, so I want to go live tonight and make some more videos, so I should be able to talk. So hopefully it's not that bad. All right, that's it. Thank you, everybody. See you guys on Finance Junkies tonight, 10 p.m. Lots to talk about with inflation. Hope you guys have a great Wednesday, and I will see you guys tonight. Good night, everybody. Bye-bye.